Welcome back to the channel. I am Nick, your coach of the West Michigan Whiscash, and I am here with a new draft breakdown for a new draft league. This is the United Battlers League Season 2. Season 1 was really incredible. It happened back in March, and I did fairly well in it. I went 4-4 on the season, but that was good enough to get me into playoffs, where I then went to semifinals, where I lost to the commissioner of the league, a good buddy of mine, Adam. And it was a really close battle, really incredible battle. Couldn't be too mad about it. So I'm very stoked to be back in Season 2 now. So this draft league is national decks, so Pokemon that haven't been released are allowed. However, they are not allowed to use their moves that have been leaked. So for example, if I had drafted Sceptile would not be allowed to use Dragon Dance. I didn't draft Sceptile, but that was just an example. So this league is a little bit different than some of the other leagues that I've done, where instead of having tier requirements, you have points, and you draft your team based on the points that these Pokemon are allowed. So we were given 120 points, and we had to come up with a roster of at least 9, but no more than 12. And we could use those points however we wanted to, as long as we had a team of at least 9. So let's start breaking down the draft. I had the 11th overall pick, and there were 12 of us. So I had a pseudo wheel, so that really helped with synergizing picks, I think, and I'm really excited with how it went down. So let's get started with my first pick. I picked Megalopony. Megalopony was worth 16 points, so after this I had 104 left. Megalopony is super good. Normal fighting type, scrappy with the ability, which means it hits everything. Its normal and fighting moves will always hit ghost type Pokemon. And I also believe that scrappy makes you immune to intimidate. I'm pretty sure. I don't remember off the top of my head, but I think it also makes you immune to intimidate, which is really good because that base 136 attack is nothing to scoff at, especially when you pair it with that base 135 speed. Not a lot is outspeeding that unless they have to run a Choice Scarf. It's, like I said, its ability is scrappy. Pre-Mega Evolution, Limber is probably its best ability to help. It can switch in on, say, a Thunder Wave, so that way it will never get paralyzed. Cute Charm could be useful, but probably not. And then Klutz doesn't matter. Klutz doesn't work with Mega Evolution, so it will Mega Evolve even if I gave it Klutz. As it says, it has Fake Out. It gained Close Combat this generation, which is super good, better than High Jump Kick, because now if a Pokemon protects, well, then I'm not taking 50% crash damage. So it got so much better this generation with Close Combat. Last Resort is still super good. Fake Out Last Resort's kind of a niche set, but it can work. It also gained access to U-Turn, so it gives me some momentum on the team, which is really good. Moving on to my second pick, I really this draft wanted to use Pokemon that I just had a desire to use at some point, you know? Obviously, I wanted this to still be competitive and I wanted it to synergize well, but I also really wanted to use Pokemon that, like, hey, I haven't used this Pokemon yet and I really want to. So with my second pick, I went with Kyurem. Kyurem was worth 15 points, so it's one tier below Megalopony. This gave me 89 points left. Its ability is always Pressure, which is fine. Ice Dragon type, really good dual stab in my opinion. Has access to setup with Dragon Dance, Draco Meteor, super good. It can attack from both sides with that base 130 attack and special attack. It's super bulky with 125 HP, though Ice is not the greatest defensive type in the world. 95 speed is also really good in my opinion, and I'm very excited to use Kyurem. I don't think I'll ever use Reflect and Light Screen, but it's there as an option. Glaciate not only gives it stab, but also gives it really good support options because it lowers the opponent's speed by one stage, which can help something like my Megalopony come in and then just click buttons, or maybe I can run Adamant 1 week instead of running Jolly. Moving on to my third pick, I knew what other mons I wanted to use, but I was like, they're not something that I should pick up yet. And I wanted something to synergize really well with Megalopony. And for me, one thing that I think Megalopony, the way to really just beat it is to get rid of that ability. Because if you can get rid of its ability to hit ghost types, oftentimes you're getting rid of its ability to just hit a ghost type in general. Many times Megalopony doesn't need to run anything other than normal stab and fighting stab. So I thought the best way to get rid of its ability is with either Runerigus or Cofagrigus, and it took a lot of internal debate to figure out what I wanted, but I went with Anka the Cofagrigus. She was worth 9 points, which gives me 80 left. The ability Mummy is its big thing. If a move makes contact with it, it loses it. The Pokemon that made contact loses its ability and then gains the ability Mummy. Not only that, but it also has 145 defense, which would really tank Megalopony's hits super well. It's such a good support mon. Will-O-Wisp to help burn, and just make it even better as a defensive wall. Toxic Spice is super good. Iron Defense plus Body Price, you can never go wrong with that. And so I'm very excited to use Cofagrigus. I have a few niche sets that I've tried on the ladder before that haven't super worked, but maybe they'll work out in Draft League. We'll save those for later team builders and see how they go. Moving on to pick 4, I went with another mon that I've just really wanted to use, and that come on, work. There we go. Was Bisharp. Bisharp was worth 12 points, giving me 68 left. Its ability, its best ability is Defiant. It's probably what's going to use more often than not. Inner Focus is really nice because it gives it, I believe, immune to Intimidate now. It got buffed to immune to Intimidate, but also it can't be flinched. And then Pressure is probably not going to be utilized, but it could happen. Base 125 attack is nothing to scoff at. Base 100 defense is also pretty good. Steel Dark is very good dual stab in my opinion. And, stab knockoff is going to be super good. Iron Head is going to be really good. It gives me a rocker, Swords Dance to set up, Sucker Punch for priority. Just a super good mon all around that I think my opponents will always have to think about when team building is, can Bisharp just come in and click Sucker Punch on you when you least expect it? So yeah, I'm very excited for Bisharp. Next, I believe, was another Pokemon that I just really wanted to use. So I picked it. Then we got... Oh, no, it wasn't what I thought it was. It was Sarina. Sarina is also super good Pokemon in my opinion. Really bulky. It was worth 9 points, giving me 59 left. Its abilities, Leaf Guard, probably won't use. Queen of the Majesty is probably what I will use most of the time, which just negates priority. And then Sweet Veil. It's a really good support Pokemon. It has Rapid Spin, which just got buffed, so it'll raise its speed after using Rapid Spin. Aromatherapy to help with if I get statused. Knockoff is really good. Synthesis for recovery, and then U-Turn for momentum are all super good. Again, base 120 attack is nothing to scoff at. Base 98 defenses are also a lot better than I remember Sarina being. And then base 72 HP to help out those defenses. It's a really good Pokemon, helps stop priority, which is just super good, and I'm very excited to use Sarina. So next, I picked Tapu Fini. This is what I was thinking of earlier. Tapu Fini is another one of those Pokemon that I've really wanted to use for a long time. It was worth 14 points, giving me 45 left. Its ability is Misty Surge. Kind of agreed upon in general that Tapu Fini is the worst of the Tapus. That being said, I still really wanted to use it. Water Fairy is super bulky. It's in the same tier as Primarina, which is also really good. The thing that I really like about this is it gives me Defog support. Defog did get buffed, so that way it'll lose its own terrain if I do click Defog, which is kind of unfortunate, but I think that's something I can still work around. Nature's Madness being a good way to just break through really fat mons and chunk them down for half HP right away. It can even sweep with Calm Mind. Haze is really good if my opponent thinks they can just set up on me. It also gets screens and is a decently likely candidate to use. And then also Scald just to help fish for those burns and make it even more bulky. And the other thing that I really like is this is a very bulky mon. It still has 85 HP, so a lot of other defensive Pokemon might not be able to outspeed it, because it has this 85 HP. And uninvested, that's still quite a bit. So let's move on to pick 7 now. Pick 7, I drafted Colossal, another one of those mons that I've really wanted to use for a long time. I used it in my first playthrough of Shield, and it was honestly the MVP of my team. And so I was like, you know what, let's try it out in draft. Also worth 9 points, giving me 36 less left. Its abilities are Steam Engine, Flash Fire, and Flame Body. Honestly, all 3 are really good, and my opponents are going to have to, prep for all 3. Flame Body giving me really excellent defensive utility in case I can burn my opponent. Flash Fire just giving me that immunity to fire type attacks. And then Steam Engine if I get hit with a fire type move or a water type move, but probably more likely fire because it is 4 times weak to water. Its speed just gets maxed out. And granted, it does only have base 30 speed, but still, at maxed out speed, that's going to be really good. Gives me another Stealth Rocker, gives me a Spiker, gives me another Rapid Spinner, has good defensive utility in Scald. Earthquake is just such a super spammable move. Its signature move is Char Shot, which is kind of niche, which will make your opponent weaker to fire and also lower their speed. So there's a lot this Pokemon can do. Base 80 in both attacking stats is alright. Base 110 HP and base 120 are its biggest claims to fame, in my opinion. And I'm very excited to see what I can do with Colossal. Moving on to pick 7, I picked up Xatu, another one of those really good defensive Pokemon, in my opinion, worth 6 points, which honestly probably could have been worth 7 or 8. This gives me 30 points left. Its abilities are Synchronize, Magic Bounce, and Early Bird. I probably will never utilize Early Bird, but Synchronize is really nice, so if it gets Toxic or Paralyzed or Burned or whatever, it will make the opponent that did that to me, they will get the exact same status. But its ability that I'll be using probably more often than not is Magic Bounce, which bounces status moves back to their opponent. So like if they try to Toxic me, the Toxic will just get bounced right back to them and hurt them instead. Or if they try and click Rocks on me, those Stealth Rocks will get bounced back. It also gives me another Defogger, gives me Momentum with U-Turn, can help sweep with Calm Mind. It gets Screens, which is really nice. Psyshock is a good Psychic Stab that'll attack on the physical side rather than the special side in case any of my Pokemon have, or any of my opponents have really good special defense but not super great defense. I'm very excited for Xatu. I know it's always a nuisance to prep for. Synergizes really well with lots of different items. Rocky Helmet and Leftovers are probably the 2 most common that come to mind. And it's always just such a nuisance. I'm excited to use it. I think it's something that my opponents will always have to think about. Going on to pick 9, this is kind of where my draft mildly fell apart. I initially wanted Naganadel as a Poison Dragon type. Unfortunately, though, it got picked right before I was about to grab it. I didn't think it was going to get picked because we're going into round 9. At most right now, I think 1, maybe 2 teams were done with their draft. They picked 9 Pokemon. They went really top heavy. They picked 9 Pokemon and said, I'm done. I was not. I ended up getting 11. I was hoping to get Naganadel now. Then it got picked. So now I'm scrambling to figure out what I wanted. And I'm going with Tentacruel. I think Tentacruel is going to be really good, though. It gives me a secondary water-type Pokemon. Both my water-type Pokemon are also super, super bulky. You'll see that Tentacruel has base 80 HP, base 120 special defense, and then base 100 speed. So for a tanky Pokemon to have base 100 speed, that is super good. Its abilities are Rain Dish, Liquid Ooze, and Clear Body. I'm not sure which ones I'm going to end up using the most. They all kind of have merit. Rain Dish, I don't have any Rain Setters, so probably not. But Liquid Ooze or Clear Body are probably the 2 that I'll use the most. Gives me a secondary Toxic Spiker, which is really nice. Gives me another Rapid Spinner. I think this is my 3rd Rapid Spinner. Haze, just like Tapu Fini. Knockoff is really good. Hex goes really well with Scald and Toxic Spike. If my opponent gets that status, Hex's power gets doubled. And coming off base 80 special attack is still going to be really good. So I'm excited to use it. I have used it before. I really wanted Naganadel, but you know what? I can live with Tentacruel. So moving on, after I picked Tentacruel, I was, again, still scrambling, like, what am I going to do? I have no idea what I was going to do. So I went back up. Naganadel is worth 18 points. So now that it was off the board, I had these 18 points of what can I use? I can spare to get more higher tier Pokemon. So that's what I did. My next pick, I went with Raikou. I really, really like Raikou. 12 points, I think is super good value for it. Its ability is pressure, so I do have quite a few pressure mons on my team, but that's all right. And it's actually known for being kind of a pressure mon. One of its sets that it ran in Gen 7 down in the RU tier was sub-toxic with basically just sub-toxic pressure stall with Calm Mind and some other attack. And so it's gonna be good, I still think. Base 115 special attack and speed is super good. Base 100 in defense, and then add Calm Mind on to that. It doesn't get much better than that. Volt Switch gives me momentum. Thunderbolt's really good stab. Aura Sphere is really, really good. Does have priority in extreme speed should I ever want to venture with using a physical Raikou, but seems unlikely. And it gives me a good speed tier in between Tentacruel and Megalopony. So that way, if I have an opponent has like a Pokemon with the speed tier of like 115, 120, now before, if they had that 115 to 120 range, they could run Adamant to be able to maximize their damage output while still outspeeding mons like Kyurem, Xatu, and Tentacruel. Now with Raikou in there, it might force them to run Jolly instead of Adamant or Modest, which is going to be super nice. So I like that it has that speed tier right in between Tentacruel and Megalopony, and I think it'll do really good things on a squad. So for my last pick, I wanted a ground type so that way my opponents couldn't just Volt Switch all over me all day long. Having an electric immunity is super good. So I wanted a ground type. I wasn't sure what I was going to do. I looked over and saw... I debated Swampert a little bit, debated Quagsire a little bit, but none of them were making me super happy. So I decided to use a mon that's new to me in Gen 8, something that I almost used on my first Shield playthrough, but then didn't. And that was Sandaconda. Sandaconda was worth 7 points, which clears me out of points. Its abilities are Sandspit, Shedskin, and Sandveil. Sandspit's super niche, but could be really good. Shedskin's probably what I'll end up using the most. It's a really good defensive mon with that base 125 defense. Base 107 attack is really good. Base 71 speed, again, for defensive mon is pretty fast, I want to say that is even faster than, Mandibuzz, but Mandibuzz might also be 75. But, it's, again, for defensive mon, really, really good. Gives me another Stealth Rocker. Coil is a really good setup move. Glare to help spread those paralysis for, Megalopony to come in and sweep, or for Kyurem to come in and sweep. Earthquake is, again, really spammable, really good. So I'm excited for Sandaconda. And that wraps up the squad. So one last time, we've got Megalopony, Kyurem, Cofagrigus, Bisharp, Sarina, Tapu Fini, Colossal, Xatu, Tentacruel, Raikou, and Sandaconda. You'll see here are my stat averages. I am a little bit below average in the HP department. I believe 80 is the average. But you can see I dish out physical damage and take physical damage pretty dang well. My special defense is one less. I think 95 is the cutoff for above average there, so I'm barely under that. So I'm still taking special hits super well. I'm dishing out special attacks decently well with 84, and then 82 base speed. You can't scoff at either. So let me know what you guys think of the team down in the comments. First battle should be happening later this week, and that video will be up probably this weekend. Thank you guys so much for watching. Let me know what you guys think in the comments, and we'll see you in the next video.